Hello everyone. Before we start, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment with where you're from and what time you're watching. That way, YouTube will keep showing you stories just like this one. Now, let's begin. When I first started posting my experiences on Route 333, it was a simple way to pass the hours between hauls. I never imagined so many people would offer so many words of comfort and support. Things get lonely on the road, especially for a guy like me. It's easy to simply disappear. You've all helped me avoid that. There are so many things I feel I should say before I wrap things up. It's embarrassing to admit, but I've typed up a dozen different versions of this farewell. None of them felt quite right. The thing my mind keeps returning to is a childhood memory. I'm not sure why. It's not a relevant memory, maybe not even a real one, but I thought I'd share that instead of an official goodbye. The feeling of it seems fitting. I'm on my booster seat, my face pressed against the cold car window. Rain clusters and slides down the glass. Outside, it's a storm. Inside, the car is warm. We're heading somewhere. I don't know where, and I don't care. I'm focused on the distant shapes in the rain. Between the trees, they twist into forms, constantly on the verge of becoming tangible, but always vanishing the moment before I can clearly see what they are. What's out there? I ask. My mom leans over and squeezes my knee. It doesn't matter, Brendon. We're in here. My eyes grow heavy. I fall asleep to the sound of raindrops. This was it, the end of the road. The sight was bizarre. It didn't dissolve into gravel. There were no potholes or cracked asphalt signaling abandonment. The highway was perfectly maintained up until the point it simply cut clean away. Wild forest stretched beyond. I walked up and down, examining it. Could we walk back? Without a vehicle, and with Autumn's lane locking, how long would that take? Decades at least. And even then, this felt different. Route 333 wasn't trying to divert us. It had simply decided game over. Without it was no way back to the real world. Wind tousled my hair. Autumn was still in the cab of my rig, entirely unaware. Did this even qualify as a predicament? A predicament implied a problem that could be solved, but this new reality was so absolute. For a long time, I merely gazed into the forest. Eventually, I sat. My eyes closed. I waited. In my time on Route 333, I'd felt every conceivable emotion: anger, betrayal, relief, and fear. So much fear. I'd experienced everything a life could hold in the space of months. What I felt now was a new sensation. It was like lying on the beach and waiting for the waves to bury me beneath the sand. Inevitable, but not horrifying. A breeze rustled the leaves. Pine branches battered against one another, and something else. Crying. Something was weeping out there in the forest. The sound grew clearer. I waited until the noise was right in front of me, before finally opening my eyes. A child peeked out from behind a tree. Boy or girl, I couldn't tell. We locked gazes. The real thing from my trailer would have driven me mad to look at. I said, "You aren't it." The child ducked behind the thick trunk. When it popped out on the other side, it was taller, an adult. Not just any adult. "Mira," I said. She only shrugged as if to say, "Well, I have to take the form of something." I started to protest, but this simulacrum of my ex-girlfriend was already walking toward me and sitting cross-legged. "You aren't one of the hitchhikers. You're something else." She stared at me. Her chest made no movement. She wasn't breathing. "What do you want?" My patience was soaring. What was the point of coming if you're just going to sit there? "Nothing," she said. "There is nothing I want." The voice sounded just like Myra, though with a hint of something other to it. "Even trees want water. Then I want nothing you would understand. We are not real in the same way, you and I." She lifted a hand and examined it. Blood pumped enthusiastically through the vein. With her other hand, she pushed a sharpened nail experimentally into the skin, further and further, until finally the vein broke. For a few seconds, blood gushed. She sniffed, licked at the wound, smiled. Eventually, she shook her hand and the bleeding ceased. The skin was perfectly smooth. "Why are you here?" I asked. "I'm always here." "So you're the highway?" Myra shrugged. "Yes. No. To you it makes no difference." It took me too long to realize she hadn't spoken the words. Her lips hadn't moved. They'd simply impressed themselves unbidden in my mind. "But you're the one who stole the road," I said. "As it's stealing when you clip your own fingernails." "And what is the road?" "If you're the highway, then what are you exactly?" "What you perceive as one thing can really be many things." I sighed. Any chance we could chat like normal people? Myra only smiled. Do you think me a person? Consciously, I knew this wasn't Myra, but on a deeper level, I trusted her completely. This was the girl who'd selflessly loved me, the person I'd left. A sudden, unresolvable sadness filled me. Please. I choked out, clenching my eyes. Be something different. When I opened my eyes, Myra was gone. Something dark, ghoulish, and malevolent stared back at me, more terrible than any inhabitant I'd seen. A roaring, throbbing pounding built in the back of my skull. I blinked again. The thing was gone. It was my own face I stared at. This new boy merely sat across from me. There was a heaviness behind his eyes, my eyes. They could stare directly at the sun and still see only dark. It clicked. You're a mirror, I said. Whatever you are, the highway or an impossibility, you're also me. Us. His face gave away nothing. If I'm right, then you know how badly we want to get out. Why are you trapping us? Autumn was so close. You were never close. The girl will never stop suspecting you of trying to save her, no matter what deceit you attempt, because she knows you will never give up. The only manner in which you made it this far is because I allowed it. Then Lane, lock her again, I said. Give us back the road, but leave her Lane, locked. Both of us if you want. You're close to the end now. She would be gone within a handful of turnings. He tapped a single finger against his chapped lips. A reflection does not exist without something to reflect. You'd disappear then. That's why you want us. A's has been stated, he said. I don't desire in the same way that you do. I simply cannot let you go. It would unbalance me. There are rules in place. Then why are you here? Familiar anger warmed me. Remove her from the vehicle, and I will let you pass. You still have many years on the road. Instead, I cussed him out. My mirrored face, already hard, turned to stone. The branches around him dried and split. Inky, hard-shelled beetles and writhing maggots scuttled out, crawling up his clothing and squirming up his neck. He opened his mouth and they piled in. His eyes, my eyes, darkened and expanded. They bulged in his skull. They popped. Rotting fluid splattered my face and arms. I whirled. The freight container had collapsed in on itself. The cab where Autumn slept was untouched, but the threat was obvious. We were only alive because the highway was letting us be alive. I understood. This thing could scare us, but it wouldn't kill us. It needed us to survive. The road needed a reflection. It wouldn't let both of us go. All right, I said. You need a reflection. Take me. Only a willing being may be traded to enter my domain. Only an unwilling being may be traded to leave. The conditions must be met. I barked a laugh. Don't you see? I am unwilling. Without Autumn, there's no way I'm leaving Route 333. I refuse. The thing wearing my body considered. You will leave eventually, he said. Once she is gone, you will drive past the barrier as they all wish to do. You will hate me as they all do. But that's the best part. My hand outstretched. I placed it against the person's face. My face. What must it be like? It can't be easy being hated by every person you've ever trapped. Hundreds of years of loathing. I'm sorry. I really am. His eyebrows narrowed, but he didn't pull away. I don't hate you, I said. Not anymore. You will. I shook my head. You saved me. Before you, my entire life was this gray, meaningless nothingness. Because of you, it's, well, I took his hand and pressed his fingers to the pavement. All of this. The sharp scent of pine enveloped us. Wet cement and gasoline, metal and asphalt, the smell of living. You don't have to loathe yourself anymore, I whispered. I'll never leave you. For a heartbeat, his eyes shimmered, tears perhaps. Then he stood, breaking our touch. Deliver her home, came the words. Then return. He strode into the forest. When he passed behind the first tree, the body that emerged was Myra. When he passed the next, it was the weeping child. On the last pass, nothing reappeared at all. I made my way to the truck and turned the key in the ignition. When I looked up, a familiar road wound its way into the trees. How it had always been. Autumn woke up minutes later. How dare you? You drugged me. We could have died on the way back. You didn't even ask. I mean, that was sort of the point, I said. Don't change the topic, you lying, untrustworthy. Tiff made it out too. Sniveling, pathetic wait, Tiff. She's out. Yup. Back at dispatch, we're like 5 minutes away. Autumn stuttered, but already her anger was fizzling. Well, fine then. I suppose that's acceptable. Then, I laughed. The reunion between Tiff and her daughter was tear-jerking. Randall and I watched, then retreated to the break room. Chris waved at me from the break room table. "Deidre brought me an hour or so ago," he said. "Pretended she was one of the hitchhikers and waved this pistol around until I got in her trailer. Told her she should quit and go into acting after she explained it all. Relentless, that one," I said. "If she were a few years older, I might ask her out to dinner." I found a quiet spot in Gloria's office, leaning against the desk. Autumn found me an hour or two later. "How'd you find me?" I asked. This is where I would have come. Because she knew me? "Hey, Autumn. About the things I said back on the bridge. I know," she said. "You don't have to explain anything to me. You were saying what you had to get me out. Feelings. Ice. Gross. Ikey. Mushy." We laughed. "But it wasn't totally a lie," I said. "Not all of it. I'm not in love with you, sorry. But you are my friend, you know." "You really do, get me. Don't I know it? As soon as you left after Hitchhiker, I knew you'd be back. That's just what you do." I stood, approached the desk, and leaned on it next to her. "You know," I said, "I do think, in another life, if we'd known each other longer and I were a little less broken, I could have meant what I said back there." "Brendon." She tapped her shoulder to mine. "We're not broken. We're just healing." For a long time we sat, watching the birds, saying nothing at all. In the end, I snuck out without a word to anyone. I selected my favorite rig, hooked it up to an empty trailer, and set out. It was easier that way. This wasn't a goodbye forever. It was merely me fulfilling my end of the deal. As I drove, my mind drifted. I entered a trance-like state. My fate wasn't sad, this wasn't sad. The things I'd told the highway weren't lies. Route 333 had saved me. The empty thing inside me was still there, squeezing on my heart. But it was less empty. Before it was a hole. Now it was a tunnel. Dark and hollow, but leading to somewhere new. I'd done it. I'd gotten them out. They knew the secret. As long as they kept it, they could keep rescuing other drivers without sacrificing anyone else. I rolled down my windows. Crisp evening air gushed through the cab. My life had been short, but I'd done something good with it. Now I could rest. And then, as I prepared myself for years of pine needles and towering redwoods, for a lifetime of lane, locked driving, and finally being able to let go, the tree line ended. I careened past the forest section onto a flat stretch of desert I hadn't expected to reach for decades more. I slowed and stopped. For a long time, I watched the setting sun. My trance was cut off by the blare of a horn. Deidre pulled up beside me. "How long you been here?" "You passed me, what, an hour or so ago." "You get everywhere so quick." "I assure you. I had no intention of making it this far this quickly." "You go get some rest. Sounds like you've been through the ringer." She started rolling up her window.
"Hey, Deidre!"
"Can I ask, why haven't you quit already? Isn't the road a bit dangerous for a mom like you?" "Course it's dangerous. Life's dangerous, but I suppose it's because of my daughters I stay. College and all that." I slumped into my seat. Just as I'd suspected, she stayed because she had to. "Nah." Deidre spat out her window. "Truth is, I'd be hauling even without those drama demons. I stay for the same reason as you." Why's that?" "Every time I've thought about quitting, I knew I'd just end up wanting to come back." "Sure, it's dangerous, but there's nowhere else like here. Might as well drive." Plus, Deidre leaned towards me. "The pay's great with that." She vanished into the horizon. A bit later, I maneuvered my truck and turned it around, heading back into the sea of trees. As I turned the bend, I swear there was a figure waving at me from behind a tree, one with extra long fingers and nothing but 2 nostrils on a perfectly flat face. I'm a trucker on a highway that doesn't exist. I spend most of my time on this highway, dangerous as it sometimes is. We have an understanding, it and me. Sometimes I leave for short stretches, a week off, a trip to my parents, a visit to an old friend. It's never for long, but when I depart, the road will rumble on my way out. Not angry, more annoyed. It knows I'm not leaving it in any real way. I'll come back, I always do. There are things that need transporting, things that are harmful if you leave them in one place for too long. We resolve this impossible issue one haul at a time. There are hideous things on the road, deadly things. There are beautiful things too. For me, this highway remains the same length that it's always been. Even so, I know one day this will all end. Perhaps something will lure me away, or I'll forget to close my window one summer night. Perhaps the words "it is time" will whisper themselves in my mind. Then I will drive past impossible canyons, past the laws of physics and reality itself. I'll set out on a journey to somewhere new and never turn back. I don't know how it all ends, only that it will. There are many miles between now and that eventual conclusion, years even. I think I'll drive a while longer.